were born to victor, like Mount Zion. We were born to shine. Keep on moving, keep on riding, step by step toward our destiny. Keep on moving, keep on moving, keep on riding, step by step toward our victory. Like Mount Zion, we cannot be shaken because of present on our side. We have to win. Like Mount Zion, we cannot be shaken because of present on our side. We have to win. Keep on moving, keep on riding, step by step toward our destiny. Keep on moving, keep on moving, keep on riding, step by step toward our victory.
Hi everyone, lovely kings and queens, and most welcome back. Karibuni sana. Welcome back to Each One Teach One. This is Regina, the blessed, the favored, and the unstoppable. Today's topic I would like to share on apps and security. And I chose this topic because we are living in a society or in a century where technology has actually been taken up to a higher level now. It's not like the old days where we didn't have much going on in terms of technology. Yes, we had, for example, devices such as phones and computers, but those were, you cannot compare that time, the kind of technology we had back then and right now, kings and queens. Now, in some way, this kind of high tech or high technology that we have right now, it kind of has advantages and also has disadvantages. And the reason why I chose this topic is because I feel even as we continue running after God's great destiny for each one of us, there are mistakes that we are making, you and I are making here and there. And and actually, even as I share this topic, it's good and wise for us to realize that whatever we'll be sharing on today is something that you and I, in some way, actually are guilty of. Could be some of us are misusing this kind of technology that we have, this kind of apps that we have. As long as you have a phone, could be, it doesn't matter the kind of program that you have. It could be iOS, could be Android, it doesn't matter. It means that you are using some kind of apps that, for example, you use as a platform to get to your social media, kings and queens, and to connect with your loved ones somehow, or for whatever reasons that you're using these kind of apps. I'm talking of apps, for example, like Facebook, apps like WhatsApp, apps like YouTube, and all those kind of apps that you think of. Google also out there, kings and queens. Whatever app is your favorite, kings and queens, I want us to think of those applications, apps that we have out there, kings and queens. Now, remember that apps, when I'm talking about app or applications, is actually software programs that you download to a mobile device. It doesn't matter whatever kind of application is your favorite. I'm just talking mainly or generally actually talking about those applications or those apps that we have actually downloaded on our phones, kings and queens. And as I mentioned, I would like to share on this topic because I feel somehow we are failing in some ways, and also what we can do to actually curb this kind of issues that are coming because of this application. Some misuse, for example, misuse of these kind of applications that we are actually downloading on our phones. Now, several, if not all of most of these applications that we actually have on our phones, we have chosen to, individually chosen to actually download into our devices, phone devices, kings and queens. Mostly on the settings, they actually ask us to give our details, maybe the names, the location, the actual location where you are, kings and queens. Now, that is some of the settings that we have on these applications, kings and queens. Now, as I mentioned, that most of these applications that we have actually chosen, without being forced, chosen to download whatever application that you might think of that you might be using, kings and queens, they have actually played a major role to create a platform for us to have this kind of a social media. And I personally, I take it as an advantage to have this kind of, upgraded kind of technology, because in its own way, this kind of technology that actually helps us to download or to have these different applications that were not there on our devices. It kind of has its own advantages and very actually major advantages to me. I don't know about you, but to me it is. It's a way of me communicating even when I'm doing, for example, my videos. If I didn't have Facebook, I would not be in a position to actually reach out to as many people as I would actually have liked to or have loved to, kings and queens. Now, we no longer have to do, for example, we no longer have to do things the analog way. Now, we are already in the digital kind of century. For example, if you want to go somewhere, if actually you want to move from point A to point B and you don't have any directions, you just need to log in into Google. And or maybe, for example, turn on your GPS and it's going to direct you exactly to where the exact location that you actually want to go. Now, these are just but a few reasons why I appreciate this kind of high technology that we actually have in today's society, kings and queens. Now, I would like us to think of those major advantages that we have under these kind of applications that we have today, kings and queens. Remember, it's all about technology, it's all about applications today, those apps that you have on your devices, kings and queens, and how well we are using it, and what could it be that, what are the advantages that maybe we have not thought of when it comes to technology or these kind of applications, and also the disadvantages of these kind of applications that we have individually chosen to actually download into our devices, kings and queens. Now, the first one I would actually think of, and the obvious one, is actually we have the easier access to stuff. For example, maybe you are on your way to somewhere and you actually want to see what's the kind of events that are actually happening around that place. Or maybe you are hungry. For example, you are driving, you are on a road trip, and maybe you want to look for a restaurant or a hotel or an inn, for example. You just need to turn on your GPS and it should be like, showing you all the restaurants, the variety of stuff that are actually around you. Restaurants, hotels, for example, kings and queens. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you have actually logged into Google and turned on your location, your exact location. Is actually this kind of high tech or this kind of applications, they're actually going to help you locate whatever it is that you are looking for. Now, number two, and it's important for us to think of that point number one, advantage number one. As long as you have GPS, you no longer have to be analog kind of, live this kind of an analog kind of life that we used to live before, whereby you had to carry this kind of a hard copy kind of a map for you to to locate where you are and where you are going, kings and queens, and you just need your phone, your device, having this kind of an app to just direct you and to guide you. Now, point number two that I thought of quickly is actually it actually keeps us knowledgeable, highly knowledgeable. Right now, even kids who are younger than us, they know so much than compared to those kids that were there in the old times, kings and queens, in other centuries, past centuries, kings and queens. You just simply need to click on any app, those apps that you actually have in your devices. And for example, Google, whatever it is that you think of, maybe you have an assignment at school, you just need to log in, and it's actually, though not all the answers, you're not going to get all the answers, at least you get a hint of what it is. For example, if you want to look up the meaning of a word, you don't need to carry your hard copy kind of dictionary like before when we were using when we were in school, kings and queens. You just need to check it, as long as you have those kind of apps on your phone, kings and queens. And in a very few minutes, you'll be up to date about whatever it is that you're actually searching on your phone, or actually in those kind of apps, kings and queens. Now, this has actually simplified our life. Personally, I use this kind of apps. For example, YouTube, I like to try different menus. And whenever I feel like, for example, I want to cook something new and maybe I don't know the recipe, I just need to go to YouTube and just type in whatever it is that I need to do, whatever it is that I would like to cook that day. And I'm like, just searching, and they are going to advise. For example, if I want to cook egg fried rice, I'll just type in something, how to make, simple ways to make an egg fried rice, kings and queens. And it's just actually going to give you all the details that I need. That's one of the major advantages that we have about these apps that we have individually chosen to actually download on our phones. Now, number three that I actually came up with is, efficient communication. It's easier for us now to communicate using these apps. For example, WhatsApp personally, or I don't know about you, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, name it, whatever application that you actually use to stay in touch with your family members. Now, these days, we don't have to move from point A to point B, keep on traveling to go and talk to someone. You just either call them, or else you choose to text them wherever they are, which is easier. For example, you are in a meeting, you cannot call someone, you just need your application, for example, WhatsApp, whatever it is that you use to just communicate. So right now, because of these applications that we actually have, communication has actually been made easier in our lives, kings and queens. And also, one of the things that also we would actually mention under the same communications, kings and queens, is that, for example, the application that we have, Facebook, for example, it actually helps us know friends that are nearby. There was a time I was in town, and then Facebook was actually suggesting to me friends that are actually near me where I was at that time. And we actually hooked up with some of my friends that were nearby. I didn't know. I didn't have to text them. He just click on the location, and you are like, they are giving you suggestions of friends, your Facebook friends who are around you. Now, life has been made easier and amazing because of these applications. And also, not to forget about GPS and directions has actually been made easier. Now you don't have to keep on calling someone, do you know where this place is? You just, as long as you have an Android phone or whatever kind of phone that you are actually having, iOS or whatever programs that you're using, kings and queens, and you have these applications, you just need to log in and search using the directions using your GPS. And point number 5 that I actually came up with, for me personally, these applications have actually helped me to track kids' activities. For example, applications such as YouTube, you just need to log in, when you're creating an account, for example, for your kid's device, maybe a tablet that you've bought him or her, or a phone. You can actually track the activities that they're actually, the things, the history of whatever it is that they have been searching. Those are major advantages that actually came up with kings and queens. For example, what they are watching, places they have gone to, as long as you have you have this kind of a tracking application, it's easier for you to track their whereabouts, what they are doing, where they are going, what they have been watching the whole day. For example, for those who are working moms and dads, kings and queens, it's easier. Technology, these applications have actually helped us to better our lives. Now, almost everything in this life has its own good side and bad side. Now, what are some of the disadvantages that even us as believers of Christ would think of when it comes to this kind of application, this kind of high technology that we actually have in today's century? Now, if carelessly used, these kind of applications that we have actually chosen to download on our phones, they can work against us. They can be used against us. They can actually affect our lives and also the lives of all those who are around us, our loved ones, and even our friends, if carelessly used, kings and queens. For example, when it comes to us oversharing, on these applications that we have, for example, Facebook, for example, YouTube, for example, think of any application that you're using right now. If carelessly used, this can actually be used against us, kings and queens. And that is my main issue when I was actually coming up with this topic. That even as we continue running after God's great destiny for us, there are things that we need to be up to date. Remember what the book of Ephesians actually says, that don't live as an ignorant person. Know your times and your seasons, kings and queens. What to do with what and when and how to do it, kings and queens. So God is reminding us, even under this topic, even as I come to this side, the negative side of these kind of applications that we have a responsibility to take care of our lives, to live not as ignorant people, but to be wise and to know the signs of times, kings and queens, to know what to use and how to use it. Yes, for example, when it comes to this topic of applications and security and how we should use it, it's up for us to know the importance of knowing what we are doing with this kind of applications, so that they will not be used against us. They will not be against us. They are not going to actually take away what kind of make us forget of the sensitivity or actually the importance of using these kind of things. For example, not allowing others or other things to actually affect us using these kind of applications, kings and queens. Now, the first disadvantage that I actually came up with is actually and I'm talking about overexposure, oversharing on these kind of platforms. I call them social platforms, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, be it whatever it is that you're doing. And I remember what I mentioned, that it's something that you and I are actually guilty of. Number one that I actually came up with is, that you have that kind of an overexposure about yourself, about your life, and even the life of your loved ones. I was doing some research on this topic, and I was shocked to realize that 90% of people, 90% of kids that are actually under 2 years, they are already exposed to social media out there. They have no idea, they're actually infants, but they already have a social media platform. You are bathing your kid. I'm talking to people who are like, you just got born, you just got a baby. You are bathing a baby, you are there taking a photo and posting, bathing manenos. These are the kind of things that we're actually talking about, oversharing. And remember, these are kids that have no say. They don't know how to talk. They don't know what's going on. Oversharing, I'm talking about these applications. Yes, in as much as they have their own benefits and we are enjoying the advantages of having a high technology, we are now on the negative side of these kind of applications and overusing it. When we carelessly use them, what are the effects that we can actually find or bring to ourselves or even to the lives of all those our loved ones around us? So overposting and oversharing and overexposure about yourself on these social media platforms is one of the disadvantages that would actually come up with kings and queens. I've also seen personally in my past life, in a few years ago, my past life, that is, in employment, people who have actually lost their jobs because of overexposure or actually carelessly using these kind of platforms, social media platforms, or what I'm calling applications, apps on your phones, kings and queens. There was a situation where a colleague of mine actually posted something on Facebook, just a photo, which actually led her to being her contract actually being terminated. These are the things that we're actually talking about. That yes, these applications are okay for us to use, but remember that overusing it or actually being careless about it when it comes to using them, kings and queens, can lead to us having negative impacts in our lives. Negative impacts in our lives. Now remember that even as we talk about losing job opportunities after actually oversharing stuff on these applications, there are also factors to consider. Like, for example, there are companies right now that are not just relying on the resume that you have actually shared or presented to them. They want to go to your social media platform and see what it is that you do, what is it that you post. And there are people that have actually lost job opportunities because of this oversharing of your personal life, and even giving weird and strange kind of views in your life, or about sensitive topics in life, kings and queens. So it actually sends them, for example, if it's a company that was about to hire you, it actually sends to them, or actually sends them the wrong view about you, kings and queens. Now, point number 2 that I actually came up with, one of the disadvantages of misusing these kind of applications that we have on our devices, is actually the security risk. I'm talking about people who, and as I mentioned, we are all guilty in some way when it comes to oversharing, when it comes to this kind of misusing or carelessly using these kind of applications that we are choosing to download in our devices. That whatever you do, whatever you plan to do, you are there, honeymoon manenos, you just done your wedding, you are there posting a photo, a selfie. Now in Zanzibar, you're about to travel, kings and queens, and you're there saying, I'm at the airport now. So what kind of security risk does this pose also in your life and also in the life of your loved ones? I have seen killings going on, kidnappings happen because of these kind of things, kings and queens, because it's like you're telling other people, maybe someone who might be out there and would like to, has bad intentions for you. It's like telling them, hey, I'm now traveling, I'll be gone for 1 week, my home is all yours, kings and queens. You can come steal or rob whatever it is that I have. Whatever it is that you're doing, kings and queens, God is reminding us, even in terms of these applications, it's important for us to be wise. Stop living as ignorant people, kings and queens. We are no longer now in the 14th or 16th century where people used to have, clear conscience, kings and queens, that even if you tell someone that you're going somewhere, nobody was, had bad intentions for you. You can never know right now. And mostly when you're posting these kind of things, honeymoon manenos, I'm now at the mall doing this and this, there's nothing. If that's the kind of life that you have chosen, up to you. But I'm just here to share with you that some things we need to actually keep our lives sometimes to some things to ourselves, so that we don't put our lives at risk, and also risking the lives of our loved ones and our friends. I'm sure that we don't really want to do that, kings and queens. So that was a disadvantage about security risk, kings and queens. I hope tuko pamoja. And then lastly, for example, whenever you're having this kind of posting, it's important for us to remember that as long as you have actually tagged your location, your GPS, for example, is on, or your location, the application location button is on, kings and queens, you can easily be tracked wherever you are. So you post a photo and maybe send it somewhere, and someone can actually check where you are, the details of that photo. They'll know where you are, what you're doing, and with who, kings and queens. And that actually posts security risk in your life, kings and queens. And also lastly, the one advantage that I would actually like us to think of is oversharing, or actually carelessly using these kind of applications. We are having issues right now for people who are, for example, who like to do blind dates, kings and queens. You are dating someone you have never seen, you have never met. It's important for you to remember, kings and queens, that there are people also out there who could actually be presenting a wrong identity. They are faking. You don't know who it is, kings and queens, and you're just there exposing yourself, exposing your life to them, kings and queens, telling them how you live, sending them photos, kings and queens. That is one of the disadvantages that we have of us misusing this kind of applications that we have individually chosen to download on our devices, kings and queens. Now, those are a few of disadvantages that I thought of. I'm sure that you, kings and queens out there, you have more disadvantages or even advantages of these applications that we have chosen to download in on our phones, kings and queens. And I would really love to hear from you. What's your ideas? What are some of the advantages that you have realized, or disadvantages that you have actually realized when it comes to these applications that we have we have on our phones? Now, as I come to a close, I would like us to think of suggestions of on best way to handle applications, and also especially when it comes to social media, kings and queens. And remember the reason why I'm connecting social media to these applications is because without these applications, how would you have a platform to actually get into social media? It's through some of these applications that we actually have our way of logging in, or actually connecting with the world out there, and having this platform of having social media, kings and queens. Now, I would like us to think of the first point, suggestions that I actually have, even as we continue running after God's great destiny for us. And the first one that I am personally working on is avoid tagging your live location, kings and queens. Doesn't matter if you really have to post something, it's better you just give it time. You don't have to post it exactly where you are now. I want to repeat this example, the kind of honeymoon manenos, umepelekwa pahali and you're there taking a selfie with your newly wedded hubby, and you're there telling people, now I'm in Coast, I'm in Paris, I'm wherever, I'm Italy now. You don't have to tell the world about all these things, because remember, even these are people that most likely you don't really know. Don't avoid tagging these kind of photos or videos when it's actually live. Mostly photos, kings and queens, to avoid this kind of risk that we are talking about, security risk, kings and queens. Point number 2 for us to consider is, if possible, post them later, as I mentioned. You can do it if you really have to, but try post these things later, kings and queens, such that nobody will know, okay, it's not a live location. Maybe it's something that I post, it's a photo I took a month ago, so right now I'm not at that specific location, kings and queens, to avoid these unnecessary kind of crimes that are actually happening because as a result of us misusing this kind of social media platforms or applications. Now try to turn off also location, this location button somewhere on your phone. When you're taking photos, so that even if you decide to share this kind of photos or information about yourself, nobody can go think of whoever maybe might have evil thoughts about you, maybe you thinking of something bad, to do something bad to you, kings and queens. They are not going to get the details of where you are, kings and queens. Now, point number 4 is avoid sharing your actual location. As I mentioned, this is actually, all these points are actually related somehow. Now, point number 5 is avoid accepting unknown friend requests. I remember some few months ago, especially when last year, when I actually began doing this kind of videos and opened my page, each one teach one, I started receiving so many friend requests, even people that I didn't know. So I came up with an idea of, first of all, before I accept your friend request, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, I need to go to your profile. I want to see, who are you? Do I know you? Some people don't even have a photo. Some people, you see, unaona mtu maybe he or she just opened the account 2 days ago and they have no friends. You don't even know them. So avoid these unnecessary things. Stop putting your life or the life of your loved ones at risk, kings and queens, because there are people who could also be disguising themselves just to keep a track of whatever it is that you are doing or your information. Point number 6, as I come to a close, is if you really, for people, and don't get me wrong, if you really have to take nude photos or videos, kings and queens, just keep it to yourself. Because I have heard of cases where you are dating someone, you take this kind of photos, kings and queens, kind of, ish photos. And then later, after an ugly breakup, someone is actually going to use those kind of information, or those kind of photos, kings and queens, to blackmail you. And they are like, if you don't do this, I'm going to post this photo or these videos, kings and queens. Now, I know we are living in a society where someone might feel, I don't care. I don't worry, I don't mind about what people say. Oh yes, deep within your heart that you want to keep yourself, respect, to be respected, and also to live a respectful kind of life, kings and queens, so but you don't expose yourself, kings and queens. So if you really have, I'm not saying that you have to, if you're really out there and you know that you do these kind of things, you don't really have to actually expose yourself. You keep it to yourself, kings and queens, all those things that you have got to do in your personal life, kings and queens. Now remember, even as I come to a close, as I mentioned, that it's an amazing world that we are living in. Life has been made easier because of these kind of applications, but remember that we, as the believers and followers of Christ, we have a responsibility to make good use of these kind of applications, so that we don't put our lives at risk, and also the lives of all our loved ones and our friends at risk, kings and queens. Now join me on my next video, kings and queens, as we share more on social media, as we share more on applications, and how secure we can actually make our life be, even as we continue using this kind of wonderful high technology that we have in this century, kings and queens. Now remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Each One Teach One, and also to like my Facebook page for this and more videos, to motivate you, to encourage you to keep running after God's great destiny for you, and also to remind you of stuff that we really need to consider, even in this kind of society, this kind of century that we are living in, kings and queens. Now remember that our good God loves us. He will never ever leave us. He will never forsake us. He will never leave us, kings and queens, and He really loves us. And once you know that and strongly believe it in your heart, please keep running after God's great destiny for you.